Palace of Versailles shall be the heart of our kingdom, with gardens of exquisite and matchless beauty. Heaven shall be here.
Are you a believer in order?
Order?
Over landscape?
Well, I admire it.
This abundance of chaos. This is your Eden?
My search for it?
You're inviting new ideas into the gardens. Why?
Welcome to Versailles.
This project, is it worthy of us?
She's very clever at what she does, I think.
Why me?
I watched her in my garden. I was curious.
I've been issued an invitation to the Louvre.
You see how they look at you?
Give me a kiss instantly, or I shall take grave offense.
I am no one. What could the interest be?
You are no one where everybody is someone.
What is a woman of such restrained sophistication doing with Andre here? I speak from the opposite end of the fashion scale. I like it about myself. Answer, madame. Stop me talking.
Your Majesty.
A light, honest scent. Some of the roses seem faded and overblown.
That fate awaits all roses, sire.
Walk with me.
Your wife does not accompany you ever?
No.
She's very popular.
She dictates how we live now.
There is someone you love?
He is the most complete person I know.
You look beautiful.
Are you flattering me?
Is that wrong?
You're with that woman? A builder?
I'm a builder, madame.
So be it.
We can flood the garden.
Do it. Although the elements may treat us cruelly, in the end, we have only our instincts. Patience, care, and a little warmth from the sun are our best hope.
We got a standing ovation right here. Look at this. He hasn't even talked yet. No one has ever gotten this here. No one has ever gotten that. That's unbelievable. You just made this interview so much easier. That was so nice of you. He's so happy now. Alan, A Little Chaos. This is the second film that you've directed in 17 years, right? Your last one was 17 years ago?
It was, yeah, but I was directing in theater as well, so it wasn't a completely slack muscle.
Were you itching to get back to film? Were you waiting for the right project to find you, or what was going on? Why the kind of the delay?
Well, something called Harry Potter got in the way. And when I started it and said that I would do it, there were only 3 books written, so I didn't know that I was going to be in number 4. Even, never mind number 8. So if you're going to direct a film, you know that you're going to need over a year at your disposal. And so every year I had 7 weeks where I had to button up all those black buttons. And it was not physically possible to hand myself over to directing a film. So when that franchise finished, then I could get going with this script, which I had waiting. And all things come in the right ways, I think, because when it became the right time and people were getting interested in it, and the nightmare of funding a movie like this became nearer to a reality, Kate was the right age to play the part. That was one of the main prerequisites, really.
So how long ago did you first get your hands on the script?
Hard to remember, but probably 10 years ago, I think. You know, a lot of movies take 10 years to actually get made, you discover.
Now, over the course of 10 years as a director, and I believe you're credited as a writer as well, but I think you say that the original writer, it's mainly her piece.
Yeah, it's really, this script is written by Alison Deegan. Jeremy Brock and I did stuff that's more like, take this scene from here and put it there. Why don't we write a scene about this? And in that way, legally, we have to be called screenwriters or co-screenwriters, but it's a lie.
How do you maintain an emotional momentum for 10 years with a project gestating? I would want to tinker, I would want to change, I'd want to find new momentum for it.
We worked together. You know, Alison lives in Ireland, and at one point she came over to London, and we worked. At another point, I went over there, and we worked. Her imagination knows no budget. So the first script that I ever read, the very first scene said, you know, we travel down the banks of the Seine, hundreds of boats are being unloaded, thousands of people are rowing up and down. You go,
she's in a
so
house.
you have to make it a reality. Sorry?
She's in a house. That was like the opening line that you changed it to.
Well, no, but there's an example in the movie because I think it's the scene that sort of starts the trailer of the king being dressed and practicing a speech to his children. Originally, that was him making a speech to a ballroom full of 300 courtiers. So that's where Jeremy and I come in. So Alison, go away and rewrite this scene as if he was practicing it for his 4 or 5 children, and then it's financeable.
I love that scene. I love all the close-ups of him getting dressed up, and I also love the tone that you're using for his rehearsal. There's an element of it's not that you're joking, but he is rehearsing, he is practicing for his children. There's a certain element of this larger-than-life figure before he gets to be larger-than-life in front of his disciples, right?
Well, and he's telling them what he knows. You know, you've got to frighten people. He's saying to these poor little things, going, yes.
Do those compromises where, you know, making it so that he's just giving it as a rehearsal to his children, do those compromises end up inspiring you? Or do those feel like they set you back at all?
No, I think, you know, it's a kind of unwritten law, really, that limitations are good for being creative. I think if you have everything at your disposal, you kind of don't know what to pick. So I think it trains your mind a bit when you know you have a budget to be limited by.
When you finally got not to belabor this or stay on this too long, but when you finally got the budget that you were looking for, the one that you could get.
Well, we never got that.
When you finally got a budget, did you have to go back and make even more changes, or did you change it knowing that you were going to be going for a certain budget?
When we knew what the budget was, then we were told whether we could afford this, this, or this. You know, like what hurts is when you're told you can have 3 carriages and 10 horses for a night shoot as they're all arriving at the scene where Kate comes to the Louvre, and then you get to the editing room and you cut the whole sequence. That hurts, but because you remember 1 o'clock in the morning and trying to get these horses lined up and how beautiful the carriages look, but you know it's.
You have a financier who's like, "Where are the horses? Alan, where are the horses here?"
No, I'm sure that day will come.
Talk about getting Kate involved in this project. It's been reported, I think people have noted that this is the first time the two of you have worked together since Sense and Sensibility, right? Which is 20 years at this point?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a miracle we're still employable, really.
Were you looking for a project to work with her again? Did you...
Any director with half a brain would, because, no, she's a phenomenon. Incredibly reliable in the sense of being very prepared, shows up on the set knowing exactly what she's supposed to be doing, but totally open and democratic about her presence on the set. And that's important in a film that's a lot to do with status. You know, where are you on the ladder, the pecking order? And although there's, you know, Kate Winslet's name is like up front on the credits, she's not playing that status in the film, and she knows that. So crucial to her is her inbuilt ability to listen to her fellow actors and be generous with them.
What interested you in telling the story of this woman who is low on the pecking order and at the same time is this kind of independent woman who isn't viewed that way a lot by the men in the movie? You have that great scene early on where she's sort of going to interview for the job, and the men there clearly look down on her. And it almost felt to me like, I was thinking like, this is the way men looked at women in Mad Men in the 60s. I can't imagine how it was then.
Well, I mean, it's important to say for anybody who doesn't know that her character is a complete invention. There would never have been a woman with a profession in 1682 in France, England, or almost anywhere. Women's jobs were at one end of the social scale to be cooking, cleaning, or sewing, and at the other end to be standing around looking beautiful. So, and when they were not so beautiful, they got dumped. This script is written by a woman from a very feminist standpoint, and not to put too huge a label on it, but hopefully as you watch it, the period details sort of fall away, and you start thinking, hang on a minute, we haven't moved on too far here. Things are still the same in a male-dominated world.
Well, things are still the same in a male-dominated world. I think things are still the same in many ways, class structure-wise as well. You have the people on the lower rung of the class sort of building and maintaining everything for the upper crust.
Try living in England. Look at who we've just re-elected. You know, status quo always comes around again in the country I come from. So I see it operating on a daily basis.
So did you see this film? Is that what engaged you about this film? Was that it operated on so many parallels?
Well, certainly part of it, because if you're just spending your time being slavish to a period for no particular reason except a nice little story, you know, you're going to run out of energy. What the movies can do in this particular example is it can take a piece of history. Yes, there was Louis XIV. Yes, Le Nôtre did exist, although at the time of this story he was 70. So the movies can slice 35 years off his age. And then it can become a love story with a woman who did not exist at all. And our job is to make you believe that, so that hopefully, as the film progresses, you start thinking about modern parallels. And not to give anything away, but the film ends with a woman saying to a man, "What about us?" And the man saying, "We will shape each other." That's a very modern thought, I think.
Both of them are landscape artists. They're landscape artists for Versailles. How much did you do research about landscape artistry, about gardening? Are you a gardener?
Which question first?
You laugh, but if you've seen the movie, it's an appropriate question.
I love gardens. I love going, what a miracle that is. And if you've ever been to Versailles, it is a miracle. Not just because of the scale of it, but because Louis, being Louis XIV, was able to say, I want a garden there, the biggest garden ever. And he's pointing at a mosquito-ridden swamp. You know, it was the worst place he could possibly have pointed at. So Le Nôtre is a genius in more ways than one. The fact that he got anything there at all resembling a garden is a miracle. So I'm a huge admirer of those undertakings, whether they be then or now. But I'm very happy to sit in a garden. I'm very happy to visit a garden. But do not ask me to do anything.
You don't get your hands dirty.
No, I don't mind getting my hands dirty. It's just that it will die.
That's really great. You mentioned that over the course of making all the Harry Potter films, you know, you had the script in your back pocket, but you didn't necessarily have time to really work on it and make a move to direct it. Was there ever a moment while making that franchise? I know you wrote that beautiful letter to J.K. Rowling when you finished the franchise. Were you possibly regretted at all stepping into those shoes because of the commitment that it ended up being after the third book?
No, because first of all, it was a very unique thing to be part of, and secondly, and we were all very proud of it, and we worked very seriously on it. But secondly, after the first two films, we got it organized so that it was 7 weeks a year. So for 45 weeks of every one of those 10 years, I was, 6 months in London in private lives, 6 months in New York in private lives, making Love Actually or Sweeney Todd or whatever, and directing in the theatre in London. So there was a lot going on, and in many ways, those 7 weeks a year gave me the freedom to do that. It just It was just this one element, and you can't have everything.
I would say that you, over the course of your career, you have many iconic characters, but you have two pop culture icons that sort of hit and held and people did impressions of and talked about, and that would be your villain in Die Hard and your character in Harry Potter. Did someone just try to clap for the villain in Die Hard? There we go, okay. My motor mouth would not let you give him a round of applause. Sorry, Alan. What did it feel like to have another character take off that became a pop culture icon that people were talking about and impersonating you doing all the time?
Well, I don't see it. I mean, I don't watch the film, and I don't go on the internet, so I'm not really aware of it until until people like you mention it. Yeah, weirdly, I don't spend my life watching myself.
You look at me as if I do.
No, you're just asking the question.
You were on Fallon tonight, and the two of you did this incredible bit about the impression that he and Benedict Cumberbatch did of you. At one point during you guys taking down the helium balloons, he said, "I'm sorry if I upset you," basically with the impression. Does it upset you that they have an impression of you? What does it feel like to know that people love doing impressions of you?
I don't know about anybody else, but if you've ever heard your own voice on a recorder or wherever, you don't recognize it. So I wouldn't even pick it up if I was watching it. And I'd say, "Who's that?" So I don't know. I'm amazed that what is Die Hard is 28 years old. It's still playing. This is a miracle.
It is. I mean, I went and saw a movie the other night about David Foster Wallace, the writer, and in it they reference how much David Foster Wallace apparently loved Die Hard, which is incredible.
The only thing that, the thing that needs to be said a lot about that is it had a script. This is a rare thing to find in an action movie, I think. This is back then.
Yeah.
Somebody bothered to write an actual script that had a sense of narrative, and it had great characters. And also, let's face it, it was before CGI, so talk about, turning your limitations into your pluses. That is me really falling at the end of the film. So, no acting was required.
When you did Die Hard, did you have a sense of that it may take off, that it may become an iconic action movie?
Not a clue, no. I never thought, what am I doing holding a machine gun? And they had a real problem because when I used to pull the trigger or when it was firing, I was blinking.
How many takes did they have to do with you?
I think it's on the back of my head.
How did you come to Kate's love interest in this film, Matthias?
Yeah.
Matthias, thank you. I always have trouble saying his name for some
No,
reason.
it's hard. Matthias Skarnats. Yeah.
He's an incredible actor. I love Rust and
Yes.
Bone, and he's just wonderful, and he's great in this. Did you come to him after seeing Rust and Bone?
I had seen, it's one of these things is somehow you just think this is meant to be. I had seen Rust and Bone. I thought he's a wonderful actor. Then his name came up as a possibility to play opposite Kate, and I thought, yeah, but he's Belgian, and they're all supposed to be from the same country, i.e. France, but speaking in English. I happened to be filming in Belgium at the time, and when his name came up, so I really don't know what social media is all about, but I did manage to press this button called YouTube, and I found Matthias being interviewed in Los Angeles about Rust and Bone, and he was speaking perfect English with an American accent, so we just had to get the iron out to the American bit.
And when you cast someone like that, I'm imagining that you had Kate cast first, right?
Yep.
So do you run that by her? Do you do a chemistry test with her?
No, she knew of him, and in fact, as it turns out, her agent represents him.
Okay. So it's quite easy for
So,
you.
yeah.
And you also have Stanley Tucci in the film, who is wonderful in everything that he does. He's just such a perfect character actor. Were you friends with him beforehand? Did you ask him to do it?
Yeah, I was friends with him. We'd made a movie together called Gambit, and we'd had a lot of laughs together. And he's now living in London, and he, good friend. We'd been to stay with him here upstate, and I think he let it be known that he was keen to read it. Anyway, you know, somewhere down the line, I said, "Would you like to do it?" So I had to know that he liked it first.
So he basically kept hinting to you that he wanted to read the script, which is essentially a hint that he wanted to be in it.
He probably wouldn't say that, but, you know, I know better.
We talked briefly about Harry Potter, and you know, in doing a little bit of research before interviewing or doing this interview, I was reading some other interviews that you had done, and you talked a little bit about sort of watching these kids grow up over the course of these films. What was that like? I mean, it was only, as you said, 7-8 weeks out of the year, but what was it like to come back every year and see them older and older?
Well, you don't really notice it. You know, it's like, everything's about hindsight. It's when you look at a picture of yourself from 10 years ago, you go, wow, what happened? And you don't kind of notice it incrementally. And I suppose, in a way, we didn't notice it with the kids. It's just that when you finally get to 10 years later and you think, no, hang on a minute, they're 22 years old now. Well, it's a phenomenon, isn't it? There's nothing you can compare it to. You have to thank the deities that all three of them survived it. All three of them are great young people. You know, I don't have to advertise the fact that the bravery of Emma to go and talk at the UN, and Daniel talking of Jimmy Fallon. Do you ever see him rap on?
Are you going to do that next for Fallon?
Why not?
I'm not implying anything.
It wouldn't be improvised. There'd be a lot of rehearsal.
Would you say that at the end of the day, do you feel like Professor Snape is possibly your greatest character, or the best gift as a character that's been given to you?
No, he's everything I've done is important to me. The ones that work, the ones that don't work. There are little films that I've made that are terribly important. Things that you thought, I don't know how we're ever going to shoot this in 25 days, which is a film I did with Sigourney Weaver about autism, called Snowcake, really important to me. So when you ask the question, I find myself saying no. But of course it was important, but it's very much in two dimensions. You put that costume on and put the lenses in your eyes and the wig on, and a lot of the work is done for you. What was satisfying is that he had a proper story and a good finish.
Do you miss him at all?
No, because what you wanted was for it to be finished, and when it's finished, you let it go. And move on. That's the law of that jungle.
I think you move on. I think a lot of fans don't move on.
Well, tough.
Let's open it up for questions. We got a lot of fans here. I mean, okay, we have so many. Where are you going with the mic? There we go. Right here.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Firstly, I want to say that you are the bravest man I ever knew.
The witch man.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You're very kind.
The tallest. The
bravest.
Bravest. Thank you. Why am I brave?
Because you are.
Thank you. Because I'm sitting here.
And my actual question was, in Perfume, what did it feel like to be standing in a middle of the naked crowd, sorry.
That's great.
No,
Thank
I
you.
remember the scene very well. If you haven't seen Perfume, a remarkable film by Tom Tykwer from a remarkable book, and one of the central scenes in that film is 5,000 naked people in a town square. It was very, very beautiful, and that was the point of it. And And with a little, another hindsight thing, I went to Tom and I said, can I just say one thing about that scene, because I have to stand there and watch it. Please don't just let it be extras doing it. Nothing wrong with extras, but please make sure that there's a central group who are dancers or performance artists. And I'm going to get their name wrong, but there's a fantastic group of performance artists in Spain where we shot it, called something like Els Furos dels Paos. And it was mesmerizingly beautiful, what they were doing. So what did I feel like? Very moved and admiring and triumphant that this was going to work.
Next question.
How are you? Thank you so much for being here. So I remember a while ago, Stanley Tucci once said that he didn't read the books for the Hunger Games when he accepted his role. So when you signed on for Harry Potter, did you read the books beforehand, and then when they came out, did you read them, or did you just go from the script, and how was the process for that?
No, I read them with a magnifying glass. Because I knew what was going to be cut, and because of course a lot was, and as the books got fatter, more and more was going to be cut from the films, and I was raking those books for little moments that I thought probably wouldn't make it into the film, but there might be one phrase or half phrase or glimpse of something that I could use if I could then talk to the director and say, can I put this in? And also you just need to know the narrative. You need to know all of what's happening.
Right here.
Hi, yeah. I'm an actor, and I was recently reading that you made a courageous decision to put away a steady paycheck and pursue a career. I was just wondering, when you made that decision, did you have any expectations about where your path would be and where you would go and what shape your career would take?
No. No, like every actor, the world's a blank page in front of you. You haven't got a clue what's going to happen unless you're very, very lucky right at the beginning. And I was part of a generation of actors where we had it wasn't that strong, but relatively strong union. And if you left drama school, you had to have 44 weeks on your equity card working in the regional theatre. You were not allowed to work on television or in film or in the West End. So in other words, there was a sense of an apprenticeship. Margaret Thatcher got rid of the closed shop, and so now it's open to everybody. That makes it harder and harder for young actors to have a sense of, muscle memory, and for theatres around the country to become places of training. And I work quite closely with Royal Academy of Dramatic Art, where I trained, and it's very hard to shift the perception that, well, when I get out of here, I'm going to be famous tomorrow. And I don't need to tell you, there's an awful lot of that about, so it's even more difficult. I think you have to, as far as I'm concerned, think long term, because cheekbones don't last forever. It's one of the echoes of this film, really, is look what happens to women in Hollywood, and how quickly they are. It's like next. So it is a brave thing to do to enter the profession, but I hope that what you have is a passion for telling stories and being part of a storytelling chain, and it isn't just about where can I show off. That won't reward you.
Next question.
And anyway, by the way, I didn't give up a steady paycheck. we had no money. I was working as a graphic designer and running a design group, but everything works against you. And even back then, the law of that jungle was we had to pay all our bills like tomorrow, and nobody paid us for 3 months. So it was a nightmare.
Hi, thank you for being here. I have a question about Snape, obviously, because it's hard to move on. When you started working on the first movie, did you talk to J.K. Rowling and she told you what most people didn't know, how the character will evolve, what he was actually up to? So did you know about that? Because it's pretty unique to work on a universe like this where actually it was on her head. Most of the things were not written yet. So was part of the work talking to her and knowing about how it will evolve, or did you start working on the role without knowing part of his life or his future? Or
There's a lot of rumors about this, and so I'm very happy to tell you the truth. When I was asked to do it, and I said I would, I said, but I need to talk to her first. And so we were put together on the phone, and Jo Rowling was with her sister at the time. She said, I can't talk, I'll talk to you tomorrow. And, because when I'm alone. And I said, look, I do not know how to play this because I can't, and you got to remember there's only 3 books at that time. I don't know how to play it. She did not tell me what was going to happen. I knew book by book, like everybody else, what the narrative was. She gave me one small image, and I said to her, and it remains true now, I said, okay, I'll never tell anybody that. It doesn't matter that all the books are out and everybody knows, I still don't and won't. One small image, and I thought, oh, okay, well, that at least means I have to play sort of 2 things at once. But I certainly did not know what the ending was.
Have you talked to her at all about her new book or any new projects that are coming up?
Haven't got a clue, no.
Next question.
We have time for 2 more questions.
Hi, I'm
Hello.
a huge fan. I'm very happy that you're here. I have a very simple question. If you were at Hogwarts, what house do you think you'd be sorted into?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'd have to think back to being 12 again, wouldn't I, for a start? What was I like at 12? I think I'd have to be loyal to Slytherin, wouldn't I? Really.
One more?
I love Die Hard. I thought you were great in that. You know the scene where John McClane finds your character snooping around and you act like you're a Californian? I love that voice. Where did that voice come from?
I hope it came from America. I mean, I wouldn't know where in America. You know, as far as I'm concerned, I just do American.
Alan, thank you so much.